All right, I should be live here. Gonna be making some Mongolian beef today. Sounded like a real good recipe, and wanted to give it a try. So, wanted to get my wok out and play with that this year a little bit. Got the wood stove fired up and going. I'll get myself moved over there. Make sure I got everything. Start this. All right. I'm also going to be giving away that baking pan at the end of the show. And I started the comment picker at the beginning of the show this time just to see if that makes any difference. Let me grab my mouse. And hopefully you can hear me good over here. I'll try and remember to talk at the microphone instead of at the camera like I usually do when I'm over here. Anyhow, Mongolian beef. It's pretty much a stir-fried beef with a real basic sauce. And a trick you want to do with the beef, and this is real common in stir-fry things, is add some cornstarch to it. Got about 1.5 pounds of eye of round here, all cut up into nice little strips. Gonna sprinkle a little bit of cornstarch on there, mix it around. Get everything coated good. We're going to let this sit for 10-20 minutes before we go ahead and cook it up. A bit on there. Yeah, it looks like she's all coated good. Like I said, we'll let that sit for about 10-20 minutes. Wash my hands off quick. And we'll cover that up and set it aside. Now our sauce is 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup each of water and soy sauce, a couple of tablespoons each of minced garlic and minced ginger, and that's really about it. So what we'll do here, got this pan over here warming up. We'll get that pan heated up good. Move you over on the stove a little more. I won't need my lid. We'll let that pan heat up and put a little oil in it. And then, get my ginger. Here's my garlic. She's getting there. And we'll get started. Later on here, I'm also going to show you, once I get this sauce underway, I'm going to show you what the FedEx man brought me today. I think you'll like it. And while I got a minute to kill, I'll show you that baking pan again. This is an industrial baking pan. It's a commercial baking pan. Look a little closer at it. It's made by Lockwood. They're still in business. They still make commercial bakery equipment. That's 12 spots, little rectangular loaves. Hopefully you'll get this in time. You can still do a little Christmas baking with it. You can make some mini banana bread, pumpkin bread, meatloaf, whatever you want to make with this thing. It's a nice little pan, but I don't really need it. So some lucky person's going to win that later on in the show. I'll set him aside. Let's see. Well, we're getting pretty warm now. Give her about a tablespoon or so of oil. Swirl that around a little bit. Yeah, she's nice and shimmery. That should be hot enough. And I got my minced ginger and some minced garlic. Yes, it's garlic in a jar. So we'll throw that in. Throw my ginger in. Work a little faster here. And just kind of saute them a little bit. Get them lightly brown just so you get the smell out of them good. Hit her with a half cup of water. A half a cup of soy sauce. And 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Get that all stirred up and dissolved. Bring it to a boil. And once it's boiling, we'll move her over onto a cooler part of the stove. And let that simmer down until she thickens up a bit. Probably 10-15 minutes. That already smells real nice. Get a couple of these things out of my way while I'm waiting for that to come to a boil. And I think what I'll do is put her right on an eye and get her torquing along real quick. A little bit of dead air here while I'm get a little more air going to my fire so she heats up some more too. That'll get things going a little quicker. Just about to start boiling, starting to make the rumbly about to boil noises. Hot pad. Almost boiling. Almost. There, she's starting. Now, move her over to a little cooler part of the stove. I want it to just simmer along at a nice slow kind of boil. Let the pan cool off just a little bit so we can see what's going on. I think that'll be about right. Yeah, I like that. It's a nice gentle little simmer. Put my spoon down. Anyhow, I got my beef sitting there waiting. And now, I'm going to back up a little bit here. Let's see here. There it is. Back up a little bit and grab this thing. We were saying how expensive aluminum roasters have got, especially the Magnolite ones. Light's a little bit too shiny to show things good. This I got for 40 bucks. It's a nice big roaster, and it is, trying to get my light right here so you can see what we got going on. That is a pre-Magnolite Wagner Sydney. See, it's number 7. Got kind of a fancy little 7. I don't know if you can see it on the lid, but it's got the same fancy script 7 on the lid. And that knob is the original knob for it. That's nickel plated. Pretty nice shape, 40 bucks. It's a nice big one. It's a lot cheaper than the same size Magnolite one would cost you. And needs a good cleaning up. Once I get her cleaned up a little bit, I'll put a shine on it and show it to you then. Might have her done by next week, I'd like to hope. But I think that's a hell of a good deal for 40 bucks. Oops. Yeah, fall apart, you. There. Got him out of the way. All right, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's a good simmer. We'll leave that set. I'm gonna come over here by my computer where I can see the comments a little better and try and catch up on them. All right. We'll chatter a little while here. Let's see. 6:42 on my clock. I'll let that go for about 10 minutes. And yeah, it's still bubbling. I'll let that go for about 10 minutes or so. And let me move my mic over this way. And we should be good. Then we'll start in cooking up the meat. Oh, I better check my fire before I sit down. You close the air off a little bit. And I want a hot, fast fire when it comes to using my wok. So I'm going to feed it some small pieces, fairly small pieces. And I'll open up the air on it again when we get when it comes time to cook on the wok. And that should be just about perfect. Whoops, kicked my tripod. Should be just about perfect by the time I get back to cooking on it. Barb Webb. Nice to hear from Peaster, Texas. Sydney O was from 1890s to 1915. Yeah, that's like I said, that's pre-Magnolite. Before Wagner started with the Magnolite brand in the 1930s, they pretty much always used just the same patterns as they did for their cast iron. But Wagner has made cast aluminum right from the beginning of the company in 1892. So you can find a lot of old Wagner cast aluminum. If it's dirty at first glance, you might think it's cast iron until you pick it up and realize, hey, this is aluminum. It has the same logo and the same, usually pretty much the same patterns as the cast iron did. I'll tell you about the cornstarch versus other velveting recipes. I don't really know much about the other ways of doing it. That's the way I've always done. So, that's pretty much the way I've always done it. I don't know if there's any real big advantage to any other different sort of techniques. Oh, the butcher block. Yeah, sitting next to the stove, it kind of shrank a little bit and opened up some of the seams on it some, but I ain't too worried about it. They're, It's good and tight. It ain't going anywhere. It's not about to fall apart or anything. And when it's humid in the summer, that'll swell back up. They never used to be a problem with butcher blocks like that opening up, because when they were getting used every day, they were constantly moisture, fat worked into them, and they didn't shrink. So, do those place on top thermometers work for the wood stove? You also have a laser one. I haven't tried those. Yeah, I don't know if they really help, but yeah, I got a laser thermometer, and that works pretty good for pretty much everything I need it for. So let me back up a little bit here in the comments. Yeah, the wood floor. Most of this floor was actually salvaged out of an old schoolhouse, and it's pretty much on the last time you'd ever be able to sand it if you wanted to refinish it. It's getting pretty thin on top. So what you got is pretty much what you got. It gets cleaned and scrubbed every now and then, and that's really all I do to it. And you can see over heading towards the bathroom where it's worn through the finish, but I'm not too overly concerned with it. Let me back up a little bit here, try and catch some of the comments again. Already missed a whole bunch of them. Good deal on the roaster. Yeah, like I said, the Magnolite, I love the Magnolite. It's beautiful stuff. I really like the design. But a lot of people will pass up on the older cast aluminum because they're looking for Magnolite, and it doesn't say Magnolite on it. So yeah, I got that for a pretty reasonable price. Let's see, been 5 minutes. Let me give that a little stir and see how the sauce is doing. You just want it to thicken up a little bit. Get some of the water cooked out of it. Yeah, she's looking pretty good. You can give it a taste. That's going to be really nice. But if I think of it, I'll post the recipe after the show, so you can see it on the replay. But it's pretty simple. Okay, get caught back up here. Food grade mineral oil. Yeah, I sanded it down, cleaned her up a little bit, and it's a Watco butcher block finish, and it's a food grade oil finish. Really nice. Gives it a real nice smooth finish. The trivet under the wok, is that an original wood stove accessory? That is actually mostly they were used for heating sad irons. They get them up off the stove so they didn't get too hot, but it gets plenty hot and you get a little bit of air circulating underneath of it. And the rim is busted on one side. I got it for next to nothing. And the rim is broke on one side, but it works great for that. Gets things up off the stove a little bit so they're not quite full heat, but they're still pretty warm. How old is the stove? That one I think is from the mid-20s on up into the 30s probably. There's a patent date on the thermometer on the oven door. I think it's 1923 if I remember right. So sometime after 1923. It's an all-American stove, and on the nameplate it says the world's largest store. which was a slogan of Sears Roebuck. So that was most likely a brand made for Sears and sold through the Sears catalog back in the 20s and 30s. I bet it feels good by the stove. A little too warm in here. I got the door open because it's not all that cold out. It's about 20 degrees. And it doesn't take a whole lot to heat this house. Especially when it's, 10, a little bit below freezing. It doesn't take very much. I hate. A lot of times sometimes they do, sometimes they don't show the comments on the replay. I don't know exactly why. I'll have to double check the settings. And sometimes it seems if you watch it shortly after the show, there aren't comments, but the next day there might be. I've noticed that on other streams. So it might just be a matter of it processing all the way through. It's been 10 minutes already, so we should be pretty good for the meat velveting, and by the time the meat's ready, that sauce should be simmered down pretty good. It's already thickened a little bit. I mean, it's not going to be a thick sauce, but with the cornstarch on the meat, it should thicken it a little bit too. I'd like to see somebody do some actual ironing with sad irons. Yeah, that might be kind of fun too. Maybe a video on restoration of those things. Yeah, it's possible. I do know you really want to get the bottom smooth. I mean, sand it smooth and, get a real good polish on the bottom, because, that's because you don't want your iron snagging on your clothes. Let's see. Give everything one more check, and I think probably a couple minutes we'll be able to start with the meat. It could simmer a little bit slower, I think. Could simmer a little bit slower, I think. I'll slide them over just a bit more. But yeah, that's cooked down good. Ooh. That is going to be really nice. All right, let's see here. I need my 2 other bowls. And, oh yeah, that looks nice. Fire for wok cooking. Get my wok. Now my wok is already pretty warm, so it ain't going to take too long to heat up. And probably can't quite see it now. But if you look there, you can see this rim is busted out of that heater. But anyhow, should be good and warm. I'm going to pull my block a little bit closer to where I'm working. And yeah. Okay, I think I'm ready. I want to give her a fair bit of oil. And you want to do the meat in small batches, because if you overload your wok, you'll get too much juice out of the meat, and the meat won't really brown. It'll just kind of boil. Now, usually they tell you a hot wok and cold oil and things won't stick. I found with this Lodge cast iron wok, it seems best if you got your oil just about smoking hot. So Make of that what you will. I'll let that go until she's just about to smoke, like it is right now. And hit her with some meat. Now, these won't take very long. It'll only take, maybe a minute to a side at the most to get them cooked up good. There you go. A little more oil. Get that oil heated back up. Get my fire a little hotter again. And I'll cut one of my pieces of meat here and make sure it's done. Yep. We'll shove a couple of sticks of wood in here. plenty hot enough, but I want a little bit of flame under my wok. A little more oil. And I got about 2 batches of meat left. Jesus. Oh, my sauce is looking nice. All right. Want them bits. All right, this should be it for the meat. Get this bowl out of my way. Okay, for this next bit, I don't need my wok quite so intensely hot. So I'm going to pick it up, put the lid back on, put them over here. I'm going to give this a little splash of rice cooking wine just to deglaze anything. And to give her a little flavor. Just put my meat back in. I'm going to add some cut up green onions. And I'm going to cut up a dried cayenne pepper in there. Give them a little stir. Get rid of these extra balls. And now, in goes the sauce. I have to use my wooden spoon, I guess. Let that cook down for just a minute or so. And we are done. Put this over on the cooler part of the stove. Get this pan out of the way. Get rid of some of my other stuff here. And seeing as how I dropped my wok shovel, I'll have to grab me a ladle. Gonna move this over even farther. Kind of push that out of the way. And we'll back off some here. And I need a bowl. All right, get some rice. And get some of this here beef. Oh, doesn't that look nice? I'm going to move this over a little bit more just to get it off the heat almost entirely. But it'll stay nice and warm over here. And there you have it, Mongolian beef. I'm going to shut the camera lid here and move the camera back over so I can sit down and chat with you while I eat. Get over here. Hopefully I can find a good spot for the camera that isn't entirely in my way, because this isn't where I usually have my camera stand set up. Well, that's pretty close. All right. Get my food. I got to turn off a couple of lights, so you're not staring right into the lights. All right, here we are back. A little bit dark, but it ain't too bad. Let's see, I gotta level up my camera just a hair. Yeah, there I am. Okay, I got my mouse. There's that nice Mongolian beef. That smells so good. Give her a little taste here. Some rice, piece of meat. That is really, really good. And as you saw, it's not too difficult to make. You know, just a little bit of time with the wok. And the nice thing about doing the wok on the cook stove, when you get grease splattering all over, it doesn't really matter. It's actually good for the top of the stove. It ain't nearly as much of a mess to clean up because it all pretty well burns away. A little bit of onion stuck in my tooth. But yeah, that is really, really good. Like I said, I'll put the recipe in the description, for the replay, and you can see it all then. There's really not much to it. Like I said, it was a half a cup of water, half a cup of soy, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, a couple tablespoons each of minced garlic and ginger. Saute up your garlic and ginger, throw everything else in, let her simmer for a while, and stir fry your beef, and away you go. But yeah, that is really, really good. And I love using that cast iron wok on the cook stove because that really works nice, because you can take one of the lids off and set it right down in the fire, and you get a lot more really hot area than you do with just the just that big cast iron slug on the bottom of the Lodge box on a burner. You get a lot more really hot area, and it works real nice on there. So, and it's a lot of fun. But anyhow, yeah, I'll show you that roaster again. Now it's not quite so much glaring light, and hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit better. See a little bit better the numbers and the markings on it. And like I think Chris Halverson pointed out, they made these from 1892 up until about 1915 or so. This might be a little bit older because it's got that old style 7 on it. And this knob, that's actually a factory knob. That is the right knob for it. A lot of the some cast iron roasters, you'll see them like this. The dome back, the turtle back, Dutch ovens, and that sort of thing. Sometimes you'll see those on Wagner, Wagner stuff, and that is the right knob for it. Like I say, there you can see the old timey 7, and there. That's basically an arc straight logo. with the number 7. Pretty decent shape, a little bit dirty, just needs a little bit of cleaning up. Get the crusty stuff around the handles. And then I'll shine that up and we'll see how it turns out. That should be really nice though. It's fairly thin. You know, like I said, they use the cast iron patterns for most of their aluminum casting. So that's about the same thickness as an oval cast iron roaster of that time would have been. Anyhow, I'm going to try and miss most of the comments so far here. I'll go back and see if there's anything really pressing. Made your first sourdough bread, been feeding your starter for 2 weeks. Looks great, but you haven't tried it yet. Yeah, I like sourdough. I haven't made any in a long time, but I've still got my starter in the fridge. It will stay alive for an amazingly long time in the fridge if you just leave it alone. Pour it in a nice, clean, sterile jar, set it in the back of your fridge, and eventually you'll get that layer of, they call it hooch. It's, you know, alcohol and liquid on top. Don't stir it, just leave it in there undisturbed, and it'll last pretty much forever in the fridge. And then you can just bring it out. You start feeding it again, and it'll take right off. Watching Mud eating pinto beans with onions and cornbread, your brain is messed up. Yeah, I don't have any fortune cookies to go with it. Heading to my place for dinner. Fried fish in your 10-inch enameled Lodge Dutch oven works great. Yeah, and you know, don't get bits sticking to the sides on the enamel. They work real nice for that. Use an old carbon steel wok you found in a dumpster. Good cleaning and seasoning. It works great. Even use it as a regular skillet sometimes. Yeah, like I said, you know, everybody, you know, with a regular steel wok, they say you want to have your wok hot, then dump your cold oil in, throw your stuff in, and things won't stick. But with this, with that cast iron wok, it seems to work a lot better. Get the oil screaming hot, get everything screaming hot, and then throw your food in and start frying it. Thanks to me and Cast Iron Chaos, you're now sold on the Lodge wok. They are nice. I mean, they do work good on a stovetop, you know, because they got a big flat cast iron bottom, big chunk of iron. You get that hot, you'll definitely have a very hot spot right in the middle of your wok like you want. It'll be a little bit cooler up on the sides. You know, like I said, that's why I really like doing that in the cook stove, because when you set it down, I mean, you got the fire covering a lot bigger area. But yeah, they work good on a, you know, he's done quite a few videos with his using his cast iron wok on a stovetop, and works nice. And they make I know they make 2 sizes. I think they make 3 sizes, and the smaller ones have a skillet handle on them. Where the great big one like that, that's the big 14-inch. That has the 2 you know, the 2 loop handles on the side. Go back here down to the bottom. It was mostly aluminum ware made after World War II. They've been making, like I said, they've been making aluminum Wagner anywhere, Griswold too, since the 1890s. A lot of the stuff that was made before World War II got caught up in scrap drives because there was a shortage of aluminum and they needed it for war production. So a lot of it got scrapped. But they did make it before World War II, and been making it ever since. Anyway, let's see. Making bread tonight. Yeah, like I said, hopefully I'll be able to, you know, get around to revitalizing my sourdough starter. I never got much rise out of my sourdough starter, but it has a really good, strong sourdough flavor to it. So, I guess all kind of depends on what, the native wild yeasts are in your area, what you'll end up with. But anyway, been at this 50 minutes. According to I started the picker thing. I got to look around the camera to find the right thing to click on here. Share screen. Bring up the giveaway tool there. Yep, I'll allow that. There we go. It's got 42 entries. And what we are drawing for is, once again, this. It's an old commercial steel baking tray. It's a 12 spot. These are about, maybe 2x4, the little compartments in it. It's a dozen spots. It's pretty good size. It's got to be about 18 inches overall. Probably about 18 inches overall or so. I haven't actually measured it. But it's heavy stamped steel. It's made in like 3 pieces. The compartments are a separate piece, and there's a top and bottom piece to the frame around them. And the edges are all rolled together. Pretty heavy duty little thing. Not quite as heavy as cast iron, but it's still pretty hefty. So what we will do is pull the trigger on the drawing here and see. Got 42 entries, so everybody should be in it. All you have to do is leave a comment and you're in there. And here we go. Draw. Cast iron restore. Alrighty. You done won yourself. Congratulations. You won yourself this here baking pan. It's a nice one, like I said. I've used it a couple of times. I've made little mini bread loaves in it, little sourdough loaves, and they make real good sandwiches. They're definitely nice. Definitely a nice, useful pan. You should be able to get that in time to do a little Christmas baking with it, maybe. But anyway, send me a shipping address at the Mudbrooker, all one word. In fact, I'll put that in the comments here. Let me get this out of the way so I can type. The Mudbrooker at yahoo.com. See, that's right. At whoops, what I hit there? At Yahoo. I screwed something. There we go. Yahoo.com. There we go. And kind of ignore the highlightings there. It's just the Mudbrooker once, all lowercase, one word, at yahoo.com. And I'll get that shipped out as soon as I can. And yeah, there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Let me stop sharing that. There we go. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. And give that Mongolian beef a try. That really turned out nice. So, give it a little bit here. That's the first time I tried making it quite like that. And yeah, I'm impressed. That is really, really good. So anyhow, I think we'll wrap her up here for the night. Only see 6 likes. And hopefully Cast Iron Restore will hurry up and get the shipping address to me. And we can get that sent out right away. I don't think I'm going to have a show next week. Let me grab my schedule here quick. That Can't quite reach it. Thing you want just out of reach. There we go. I think next week I will be working here. Let me double check. December, what's today? Today's the 12th. Well, I take that back. We will have a show next week. So I will see you guys next week, which is good. The week after, we won't be here. But anyhow, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Try the Mongolian beef, tip your waitress, and I'll see you guys next week.